But suddenly became this broadcast. You tuned in, and there was news about landings, and and some people, I think, in reacting, sort of mixed up the Martians with the Germans.
I'm speaking from the roof of Broadcasting Building, New York City.
Just 4 weeks after American audiences had sat at home anxiously awaiting more news of invasions in Europe, came news of an invasion of the United States.
The enemy is now in sight above the Palisades. Five great machines.
Again, CBS had their man on the spot.
Now they're lifting their metal hands. This is the end now. Smoke comes out, black smoke drifting over the city.
Using gas attacks and other imagery of European war, Orson Welles' Mercury Theater production played on the endemic fears of ordinary Americans.
100 yards away, it's 50 feet.
About 10 or 15 minutes into the broadcast, and the phone started ringing, and I began to get hysterical calls saying, where are the invaders and what's happening? And I said, come on, this is just Orson Welles' Mercury Theater, because I had the program on the monitor. And I said, it's just a regular show, take it easy, it's just a regular Mercury Theater, it's the War of the Worlds, and don't panic, there are no invaders.
As we were continuing with the script in front of us, we saw that in the control room there were a great many policemen, and every moment more. Now later we found out that the police were as confused as we were because there wasn't anything they could arrest us for, but there they were looking fierce, and a lot of people talking to other people in dumb show, and a very tense atmosphere was generated in the studio. We thought, well, something's gone wrong. Some few people have complained and have swallowed what we're telling them about the Martians having come to the world. But we didn't know that it wasn't a few people. It was, in fact, nationwide.
The Height family from Brooklyn, New York, were listening to the broadcast that night. Two of the daughters still have vivid memories of the events that followed.
Yeah. And although I was only 12 at the time, I was distressed that they changed it to music. And then all of a sudden, wait, you gotta listen to this. And then they broke into the music with a news flash. And then my eyes started to pop out. And I got scared. And then I don't think we even made it half.
We had to stay tuned to it, you see, because it was all these vital information that came through on each news break there that we didn't want to miss anything that we should miss. People said, why didn't you change the station? But we didn't know. My father said, leave it alone. We must listen to what we must do. We had to have orders.
They were real cool.
And I did try to call the station up to see what it was all about, but I couldn't get through.
I fiddled with the dial, and I got some classical music that I enjoyed, so I turned it on loud as I wished, went into the bathroom, was washing my hair. And the program was interrupted, and I thought, well, what's going on? It irritated me. The second time it was interrupted, I thought, oh, goodness, that's in New Jersey, forget about it.
That evening, as the broadcast continued, Orson Welles exploited people's deference to the voices of authority.
At this time, we take you to Washington for a special broadcast on the national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior. Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country. Placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duties, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth.
It wasn't until I heard President Roosevelt's voice that I got frightened. At that point, I was terrified because supposedly this person that sounded like Roosevelt was saying that it was a national thing and the whole nation was on an alert.
I went into my bedroom, but when I was waiting to hear how our mother was going to approach the young children, because I needed talking to too. So Mother went into the bedroom and she said to them, "Listen, children, get up." Why do we have to get up? She says, "Get up." She said, "Because we're going to die. And if we're going to die, we're going to die all together." Well, we got that one right, huh, sis?
I'm extremely surprised to learn that a story which has become familiar to children through the medium of comic strips and many succeeding novels and adventure stories should have had such an immediate and profound effect upon radio listeners.
Were you aware of terror at the time you were giving this role? Were you aware that terror was going on throughout the nation?
Oh, no, of course not. We did Dracula and...
At the following day's press conference, Orson Welles was all innocence. But 20 years later, he told a different story.
In fact, we weren't as innocent as we meant to be when we did the Martian broadcast. We were fed up with the way in which everything that came over this new magic box, the radio, was being swallowed. People, do suspect what they read in the newspapers and what people tell them, but when the radio came, and I suppose now television, anything that came through that new machine was believed.
The panic did not prove the gullibility of ordinary Americans, or even the ability of a gifted producer to play an elaborate prank at their expense. The invasion from Mars in October 1938 was a stunning demonstration of the power of radio to manipulate a mass audience in a time of political crisis. 50 years later, it reminds us of our continuing vulnerability to broadcast voices that shape our world.
This is Orson Wells, ladies and gentlemen, out of character to assure you that the War of the Worlds has no further significance than as the holiday offering it was intended to be. Starting now, we couldn't soap all your windows and steal all your garden gates. By tomorrow night, so we did the best next thing. We annihilated the world before your very ears and utterly destroyed the CBS. So goodbye, everybody, and remember, please, for the next day or so, the terrible lesson you learned tonight. That grinning, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch, and if your doorbell rings and nobody's there, that was no Martian, it's Halloween.